I saw Power Rangers Once and Always like the first day it came out, and it's got like a positive Rotten Tomatoes score. People were like raving about it on social media, and I did not want to damper the mood. I don't like bringing other people down when they're enjoying something unless I really, really feel strongly about it. And I didn't hate this or anything like that, so I didn't say anything. So now you're going to get my full opinion on this. This is my rambling review-ish of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 30th Anniversary Special Once and Always that aired on Netflix, still available on there. Upon rewatching this, it's just so weird from the very beginning. It feels like we needed some kind of sense of time past, and there really wasn't any setup. We just jump right into these like late 40s people, still Power Rangers, still fighting Rita, who's a robot. I know that's all explained later and done very well, I think, for the most part, by the way, in the flashback, but it just jumps right in, and it is just weird. It was kind of a whiplash kind of effect, because it felt like no time had passed, in a bad way, where, you know, these people should be in different points in their life, and they try to put that in little lines and stuff with, you know, oh, Zach's a senator or something. Rocky is a firefighter. You're trying to jam some stuff in there. And this is not a feature-length movie. This is what, like 50 minutes, something like that. So they didn't get a lot of real estate to tell this story. But if it was longer, would it have been better? I don't know. So that just really irked me from the very beginning. Killing Trini at the start was something we all were expecting, because this was supposed to be a tribute to the actress who played Trini in the series. So, like, I get it, but I just don't understand why things had to just jump right off like that. It was kind of a whiplash effect for me. It was awesome to see Billy and Zach back. It's been so long. So it was really cool to see them in an official Power Rangers capacity again. But I really think if you were going to go all out for this 30th anniversary, we really needed the whole original team. And that's no offense to Johnny Young Bosch or Steve Cardenas or any of the other actors that were in there. But you really needed Austin St. John. You really needed, Jason David Frank was still around at the time of shooting. It would have been great if he was in this. And I know that he said he was done with Power Rangers at that point. So there's a lot more complicated history behind that than just him saying no. I know Amy Jo Johnson took a lot of crap online, and I felt that was really unfair. She just lost her friend and all this stuff, and like, I don't know, I felt like that wasn't necessarily fair to her. There's infamous contract problems with Power Rangers, and I think that still continues to this day in some capacity. So hearing how she turned it down, it didn't get me any more excited, because I wanted to see the whole team back. Again, Zach and Billy, great to see them. It's been a long time, but it's just weird to me. It was like a new version of the season 2 episodes where they were using body doubles for Austin St. John and Walter Jones and stuff when they had left the show already. They were in this, Jason and Tommy and Kimberly are still in the episode, but they're just using old voiceover of them fighting, and we only see them in costume when they're shrunk down as a way to get them out of the story. It just felt empty. A little bit empty without those original actors in there. There's a really good idea in here with the Min character paying tribute to Trini. Min is Trini's daughter, sort of taking up her mantle throughout the story. It's a great idea to have a character who is connected to the past. That's how you move things forward in these franchises. I do think that Min's inclusion was a great idea, and it did pay off in a few scenes. Best scene for me was Zach and Min in the command center. That's where we finally got some emotion from Min, sort of going back and forth with Zach, who is her guardian at this point, because we jump a year ahead in the story. And we go back and forth with them about what it means to be a Ranger. And I thought that Walter Jones was really strong in this. I thought the actress who played Min was really good in this. They weren't this strong throughout the whole episode, though. I thought that scene right there, if they could have built on that a little bit more and some of that emotion and that genuine heart that I think came through, then I think I would have been a little bit more attached, but I got to give them their props. That was a really strong scene. I thought it was a good idea to bring Rita back through Billy looking for Zordon. I think it's a great premise that Billy is trying to bring him back somehow. I think that's awesome. And how bringing Rita's evil spirit back, because as Rita explains, Zordon's not the only one whose spirit was released by the Z-Wave and all that stuff. That's the wave that destroyed all of evil at the end of Power Rangers in Space. Infecting Alpha 9, I think that was. or Alpha 8, whatever. And going half robot kind of reminded me of the Machine Empire from Zeo a little bit. I thought it was pretty smart how they brought her back, and it was a good motivation for Billy to sort of blame himself for all the stuff that happened to Trini, some grief to hang on to him, some growth to come from that, and his relationship with Min developing over the course of the episode. I didn't think the time travel thing was really needed. Having Rita go back to tell herself secrets of the future, I don't know. I thought that was kind of a wasted thing. You could have done anything at that point. I thought it was a little bit of a weird way to tie it back to the 30th anniversary to see herself and talk to herself and give her advice to kill the Power Rangers. Zach getting the killing blow with the Power Axe was cool on Rita. It was nice to see the individual weapons be more important here, and not just the good guys. Some of the music was generic. I thought Ron Wasserman was scoring this. I think he's great, so I don't know what happened there. I know some of this just felt a little too bland for me. I will say that some of these scenes and shots, I mean, they don't look the best. I know that they tried sometimes to really inject some production value into this, and there's only so much that they can do with a limited budget because they're not like a big movie or anything. But I mean, when Zach and Billy are talking in Trini's house, and they have this 2-shot where they're standing in the living room, and it looks like a Hallmark movie. It looks like the lighting is bland, the shot setup and composition is just dull, and it just seems like a soap opera or something. Like there's a couple times like that where it just stuck out as something really weird and didn't match up with the rest of the energy of the episode or the series in general. The CG Megazord fight wasn't satisfying for me. I feel like you should have just went all out with the guys in suits. You already had them in suits with the monsters. Just go all out with the suits. Who cares at this point? Maybe it was just too expensive to put them in suits on a fake dusty moon and, slow down the footage or something. I don't know. The Trini tribute in Min's eye was nice, and that's a big moment that, you want to attach yourself to. It's a big point in a lot of these kind of stories where you have like the characters down and out, and then you hear the voice of the old mentor or something like that, and that keeps them going. It's supposed to get the audience amped up, and it was nice. It looked pretty cheap. I think that they could have done a little bit more than just digitally zoom in on her eye and put Trini in there. I think it could have done something a little bit better looking than that, personally. But the thought was there. That's what counts. But it didn't really get me into it as much as I was hoping. I think that the convoluted continuity of the Power Rangers kind of works against this because there's no way to cleanly jump into a story in this continuity. So when you have something like this that's trying to kind of have it both ways, where you're trying to tell a story specific to Mighty Morphin, but it's set in the middle of all this other stuff, and you talk about all these other Ranger teams, and you show some of them, it gets kind of confusing. This was a big thing that I was thinking throughout the first time I watched it, especially. So if any of you guys have read the Boom Studios comic books, I read up through Shattered Grid when Kyle Higgins stopped writing. Those are really the full potential of what Power Rangers could be. You see a lot of the flaws that are in the original series, of course, because it's a children's program. We all know that. It's been said 100 times. But a lot of things are meant for kids. Transformers, all these other properties that kind of grow with their audience. And those Boom Studio comic books are the pinnacle of what they could do. Because it sets it in a modern setting, but still keeps the emotion and the core of what made all those stories work, and expands on it and builds on it and puts drama into it and doesn't lose the sense of fun. That's where we got Lord Draken, the evil Tommy. I did the helmet review for a while back. That's become a very popular character since then. That's where you kind of expanded things and brought in all the complicated history of the Power Rangers through like this interesting frame of the Shattered Grid, and you could go to these different time periods and different worlds and all that stuff. And that was a smart way to tie it in. That's what I think is kind of missing from the more, modern interpretations of a lot of this property, is that it just doesn't want to grow with its original audience. But maybe we'll see that change in the future because they're changing things over to the all-American footage. But it is hard to go back after reading those books and knowing what could be with these same characters. I think Kyle Higgins was the guy to bring this franchise into the future. We saw what he did with that Shattered Grid short film that promoted the comic book event. If you guys haven't seen my review of it, it's up on this channel, and you should watch the original thing as well. It is so good. It is so emotional, and it's so like tight and succinct, and it gets everything that you want to see in just those few minutes. and it gets you excited for something, and it feels a little bit more adult, but it doesn't betray, the roots that it has. It's still people in tight spandex with helmets, but there's emotion behind it. And there's no reason why that can't be as popular as something like a Marvel or a DC or something. I'm not saying quite on that level, but, in the conversation, where you have these characters that were originally meant for kids and younger audiences, and you grow with them and you make them more complicated. There's no reason why you can't do that with Power Rangers. And I think that Kyle Higgins did that just in that little short Shattered Grid Dark Prelude, and with the books that he wrote. So I know I'm kind of harping on that, but it's hard to go back once again after reading those books. Unfortunately, Jason David Frank's death caused a big shadow to be cast over this film, or special, whatever you want to call it. It sucks because this is all supposed to be about Trini. It was supposed to be about her because she's been gone for so long, since, 2001? So this was kind of finally going to be something that paid homage to that character and to her performance and everything. And because JDF died a couple months before this came out, it was just bad timing. And there's nothing they could have done about that. There's nothing that they could have done to make it better. You couldn't change things in the middle of, editing to make it more about Tommy or something. Tommy's the most popular character in the history of the show, bar none. We all know that. So when you have a movie that's a 30th anniversary special, and number one, Tommy's not in it, and number two, the actor has passed away since, and there's like little to no mention of him throughout the story, it comes off kind of strange. And again, not their fault at all, but it was just bad timing. I do really like what they did at the end, having the old song that Kimberly and Zach sang together, and sort of as a tribute to both JDF and Miss Trang there. So, they did the best they could with it, but I think, unfortunately, you're just thinking about that the entire time. I know I was. I am glad people liked Once and Always. I know it was well received, and they clearly tried their best to put something special together. So I don't fault them for that. It was well done in certain scenes, and I don't know who could have done a better job with everything that they had. I mean, they didn't have access to the original actors. What else could you have really done outside of really taking a different angle on it? I think you would need a different approach, and they weren't really willing to do that. So with the constraints they had, this was probably the best they could have done. But outside of the Trini tribute, for me, it just seemed to not really have a worthwhile point. I just wanted a little bit more there. They did kind of tease maybe Billy should keep looking for Zordon. I know that this was popular, so maybe they'll do more stuff. I just hope that it's a story that brings more of the original team back, or has a more significant plot to it. And that's my rambling thoughts on Power Rangers Once and Always. Thank you for listening to that.